Hey, everybody, I'm Bruce Marshall. It's time to talk some college football season wins. Hey, the season is creeping up upon us, just a few weeks away. We're going to be hopscotching around some of the Power Four conferences, the Big Ten. We're going to start there today. Down the middle or lower middle of the pack, one that's jumping out at us, that's Maryland. We're going to be talking about the Terrapins and their season wins and how we project that one in just a moment as we ramp up to the college football season starting in late August. First of all, though, a couple of quick housekeeping reminders. Like always, don't forget to click that subscribe button on the screen right there. Make sure you get all of our Wager Talk TV videos. And don't forget, we got a special offer on my picks through the end of 2026, through December 31st. This gets you all of my picks for one special price, reduced down to just $799. That's all of my picks in all of the sports. That's Major League Baseball, which has had a very good summer. NFL, starting with the preseason here in August, and college football coming up in a couple of weeks. All those picks through the end of the year. We've got the NBA coming not too long after that, college hoops coming up, the NHL, and of course, European soccer. That'll be kicking off in later August too. That's all of my picks. One special price, $799. Almost $700 savings from the monthly price. Check it out right now for my Bruce All Pick Pack, discounted through the end of 2026. Okay, let's take a look at the Big Ten right now and the Maryland Terrapins. We talked about season win projections here, and in Maryland's case, we're looking at 5.5 wins, shaded slightly to the under. You can see that on the crawl at the bottom of the screen there. We also will post the 2026 schedule there for the Terps. That'll be going across the crawl at the bottom of the screen there. Maryland kind of jumped out at us, and we wanted to talk about them first. Nobody's picking them to be the Terps to be a playoff team this year, but I think there's some pretty good value maybe we can find on the season win total. And before we get going on Maryland, a couple of quick background notes on the Terps right here with their coach, and he's under fire, and that's Mike Locksley, starting his 9th year. Some of us remember what happened with him at New Mexico, 15 or so years ago. That was a disaster, kind of rehabbed his career on Nick Saban's staff at Alabama. Bounced around a bit, had an interim job in Maryland after Randy Edsall left, and then he was brought back a few years ago, almost 10 years ago now. He's starting his 9th season at College Park as the head coach, but he is definitely under fire right now, and it's mostly because the seasons have progressed pretty similarly for Locksley. Soft non-conference slates have inflated Maryland's record constantly through the Locksley regime, and then it sort of falls apart in the Big Ten. He has yet to record a winning record in Big Ten play since he took the Maryland job, and the last 2 years it's really gone pear-shaped for the Terps. 1-8 conference finishes both of the last 2 years. That created a real firestorm among the support base in College Park that wanted a change after last season, didn't like the direction of the program, and that is an opinion shared by a lot of observers in the Big Ten. A couple of things, though, help save Locksley for another year. One, the new athletic director, Jim Smith, just hired last summer, right before the season began, from the Atlanta Braves. And word was he wasn't looking forward to a coaching search so quickly after taking the job. And two, just the economics of it. And again, this is something we've got to note in all these coaches here, especially with so many of them getting pushed out before the season concluded this past year. That could happen again this year. In Locksley's case, his buyout, and this is no two buyouts are really the same, but those negotiated by Jimmy Sexton and his agency, and they do represent Locksley. The terms are always more favorable to the coach. You don't see some of the buyouts with the contract offsets, which is mostly favorable to the schools when it's heavily offset laden, and that means for the duration of the contract, whatever the coach who's dismissed is earning at his next job, it offsets what the school actually owes. So that's generally a good deal for the school. Most of Jimmy Sexton's clients, though, Sexton's contracts, the buyouts there's a big lump sum due upon termination or close thereafter, and then structured payments the rest of the way, if not sometimes all of the contract. He's had a few of those in the past where coaches walked out the door with a big check. Hey, ask Mike Norvell about that at Florida State. That sort of saved him after last season as he is on the hot seat, but that buyout was just a little bit too pricey for the Seminoles. And again, Jimmy Sexton and his agency negotiating that. In Locksley's case, the buyout is not all that big left now. He had a contract extension after 2022. It goes through 2027, so he's got 2 years left on the deal. The buyout terms roughly were whatever was half of the remaining contract was due almost immediately upon termination, and the rest to be paid out the rest of the contract. That's roughly how this buyout would work. After last season, that would have meant about $6.5 million to do Locksley right away. And Maryland just wasn't ready to swallow that then. It'll be a little bit different after this season. It will get less painful for Maryland. That was not a big buyout for in the Big Ten because this contract, like, it hasn't been renewed since 2022. And it looks to a lot of observers in the Big Ten like this might be everything is sort of set up for Locksley to have really be under the gun this fall. What's going to happen on the field? Can he save his job? Can the Terps do something here in the Big Ten? We'll see. The quarterback, though, gives him a puncher's chance. Malik Washington, sophomore, lot of upside, and we saw that last year several times. He's big, he's 6'5", he's got some mobility, he's got a rifle arm, and we saw a lot of that upside last year for Maryland, especially the first half of the season when he looked pretty good. Then things started to taper off for the Terps, but he gives them a chance, and they were able to keep him in the fold. But it turned into a little bit too much of a one-man gang last year for Maryland with Washington, because the Terps were not running the ball that well. They've got one of their top rushers, DeJuan Williams, back, but this was an offense way down, ranked up 123rd nationally in rushing last year. Just didn't balance the field enough. They have brought in, or Locksley's brought in, a new offensive coordinator. This is Clint Trickett, not to be confused with his dad, Rick Trickett, who is a longtime coordinator, been at Florida State, and E.J. Manuel, Jameis Winston, Christian Ponder, and all those. Clint Trickett actually played for a while at Florida State, too. Following in his dad's footsteps the last few years, he's been bouncing around some pretty creative offenses along the way. Marshall, Georgia Southern, Jacksonville State last year. He was hired by Ryan Silverfield to be the new quarterback coach at Arkansas for the new staff for the Razorbacks in December. But less than 2 months later, he got the call from Mike Locksley to come into Maryland as the coordinator of this offense. So he has got now a bigger title at Maryland, although this is a tough situation in College Park. Space and pace, these are two of the things that Trickett is talking about. These are the buzzwords in summer camp here. They want to run a faster pace. They want to be able to get at least 70, up to as many as 90 snaps per game. It's going to help, though, if they can run the ball a little bit better. So it'll be up to Williams doing that. The offensive line does return 3 stars, but they weren't all that effective last year. That's going to have to improve quite a bit. A couple of transfer wideouts here. Chris Durr coming in from Wyoming. Naeem Abdul-Rahim Gladden coming in from Old Dominion. These guys were rather productive in their last spots, but at Wyoming and Old Dominion, are they going to be able to translate here to the Big Ten and with Malik Washington? Defensively, Maryland not bad at times last year, and they do have 8 starters back, and that's a pretty high number for this day and age in college football. But and they were able to keep a couple of their star players, defensive ends, kept them out of the portal. Zahir Mathis and Sidney Stewart, they really are high on this freshman defensive end, Zion Ely. So Ted Monachino, the defensive coordinator, is going to have some good rotations there on the edge to put some pressure on opposing quarterbacks. But they were not necessarily great at stopping the run last year, and that could be a problem again. Secondary has experience, but then again, this thing is sort of unraveled for Maryland, and certainly on the defensive side it did at the end of the season last year. Great example. They weren't stopping anybody late in the season, and it was 8 straight losses to close 2025 for the Terrapins. And now this is why Mike Locksley is on the hot seat. What do we got here now for a recommendation for the Terrapins? Well, I think you've got to look at that schedule right now, and the fast starts that Locksley has had that have helped him out in recent years, with the schedule being somewhat soft early on almost every year. Maybe not the case this year. Yeah, they got that opener against Hampton at home, so they should have no trouble with that. But then you've got to go up to UConn. Very excited about their new coach, Jason Candle, coming in from Toledo, where he won a lot of games. That will not be an easy trip up to East Hartford. And then the Terps come home to face what is expected to be a much improved Virginia Tech with James Franklin in his first year. They're very excited at Blacksburg, and this is a tougher test than Maryland has generally been having in non-conference play in recent years. So there's a couple banana peels out there. UCLA comes in with its new coach. They're very excited about Bob Chesney. That's the Big Ten opener on September 26th. So that's your September there for Maryland. Winnable, but also some losable games in there. And I mention that because right after that, you go out on the road to Nebraska. Matt Rule thinks this might be the year. They love their new quarterback. Anthony Colandrea came in from UNLV. They think that's going to be a big plus. And you've got to go to Lincoln for that game. And then it's Ohio State right after that on October 10th. I would think if Locksley doesn't at least come out 3-1 from that September portion of the slate, and then to Nebraska and Ohio State, boy, that could be tough. And there's a lot of people are wondering, will Locksley last beyond Columbus Day? That's right after the Ohio State game in Columbus, that game on October 10th. You know, the way things have gone with coaches in recent years, and the fact everyone knows there's pressure on Locksley, and the players know it, and the assistant coaches know it. And if once it looks like they might be making a change, it becomes very distracting. And this could be a very tough fall for Maryland if that's the case, which is why I'm going to be looking under that 5.5 wins. You got a little price there. We're seeing, minus 130s out there in the marketplace, but I think this one jumps out at me in the Big Ten. And like we said, a lot of these coaches on the hot seat now. The hot seat gets too hot by mid-season, and we've seen a lot of changes in recent years. This could happen at Maryland. They've got to start fast. I'm not sure they are going to be able to do that. So it's an under for me for Maryland. We'll see what happens. Okay. We'll be back next time to talk about some more college football season wins. We'll be jumping around Power 4 all the way up to late August here in the kickoff of the season. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget, if you've got any comments, hit the comment box on the screen. I'd love to hear from you. And don't forget that special offer. We've got all of my picks through the end of the year reduced down to $7.99. That's on almost $700 savings off the monthly price. That gets you all of my picks in all sports. Okay. So until next time, that's a goodbye from me.